Well, hello, and welcome to my standing observation. Now, a little bit of a trigger warning here. My standing observation this week is about death. So if you're not up for it, maybe don't listen. If you and death aren't friends, or it's kind of not the right time for you to be thinking or listening to anything to do with death, then just maybe keep away. I'm very comfortable with the topic of death, and the reason it's my observation this week is I've had lots of conversations with people. I've got a lot of people at the moment who are very bloody aware of their mortality right now. A lot of stuff going on, people with illnesses and diagnoses and all kinds of stuff. And I've been having lots of conversations about what does that look like and how should I feel and how do I feel? And I guess because I'm, like I said, really comfortable with the concept of death, people kind of come to me and we have these conversations, and I've had lots of them. This week has been a lot of that. And so the reason I'm so comfortable with death is because of my belief system. So I believe that we are born and we have a contract that we take part in, and we kind of agree to when we're going to die. So that helps me a lot in that I think everyone who dies, it is the right time for them to die. And the idea of no soul dies without its permission, I find very useful. So even though terrible things happen, like, people die and they're very young and it might be very sudden, or, children die, and that's unbelievable. And it's so hard, right? And I'm not saying that death is easy. I just think death is a big part of life. And I personally believe that you can't live properly unless you get your head around death, because otherwise you're constantly living in fear of this unknown thing. And it's like, what if you just made friends with the idea of dying? Because, spoiler alert, you're dying. We all are. It's going to happen to us, right? So it's not a case of if, it's when and how bad, pretty much. I used to work for a clothing company called No Fear, and that was the t-shirt brand, a t-shirt slogan. It's not a case of if, it's when and how bad. And I think about that with death. I think we're all going to die. It's the only thing you can count on. And so getting comfortable with it and having conversations about it's a really good idea, because not talking about it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. And I'm fascinated by people's death beliefs, like what do you believe happens when you die? And if you could choose how you die, how would you like that to happen? And because possibly you've already written that down somewhere in your contract a million years ago, I don't know, but I think it's an interesting one. And I was having a conversation this week with a friend who's got a parent in dementia care, and they were like, this sounds awful, but I kind of wish that he would just die. And why is he still here? Because there's no benefit to him being here. And I said, well, because he hasn't finished teaching the people around him what they need to learn, or there's some experience. Because I believe we come to, as a soul, we arrive on earth and we want to experience stuff. That's the whole point of jumping in a body, because we want to experience stuff. And some souls literally sign up for shitty lives, and some souls sign up for really hard setups. They set themselves up in a bad family with bad ideas, and bad things happen. But that's what they need to learn. That's what they are here to experience for soul growth. So that's just my belief, right? So I'm going, if you are meant to die at 25 years old, then that is what you signed up for. And maybe the people around you learn a lot from that, or, there's some experience to be had in that. And this friend of mine who said, what if my dad, why hasn't my dad died yet? I'm like, well, she said, he's not even existing. And I'm like, no, but you're learning. There's still lessons in his life. There's still experiences there for you. You're having to have horrible conversations with your siblings. You're having to decide what you believe is right and wrong and make decisions, and it's constant learning. Now, that might be a little bit too wide-eyed for everyone, but that's how I like to look at the world. And I was talking to a friend today about assisted dying. So someone who's got a terminal illness who is having appointments to discuss planning their death. And I'm like, oh, how do I feel about that? That's a biggie, because I don't want my friend to suffer. And I think, fucking get in charge of your shit. If that's 100%, if that's what you want to do, good for you. Like, you should do that. And what is that? And I was finding out what that entails. And it's really interesting. And it's like, so is it okay to, to resign? Is it okay to go, no, I'm out? This may not be my finish line, but I'm finishing early. And I'm like, I think obviously it's okay. And I think it's okay. And I think it's good for people to have those discussions and to know what that entails, because that's a fucking big decision, right? That's a really big decision. And they obviously have lots of systems and protocols in place for people that want to explore that option. So yeah, I'm just really interested. And I think I would love to have a death conversation with everyone I meet, because I'm so fascinated on how fucked up people are about death. Like, so fucked up about, can't talk about it, don't want to deal with it, don't want to imagine what happens. I kind of go, it's a promotion, that it's something that at some level, and the shittiest bit for me, and I think for everyone around death, is when you're left behind. The person who dies goes on to, they have no pain, they have, they get to, they're not here anymore. Well, they are here, I believe they're here energetically, not here physically, but we miss them physically. We crave, we want to hug them, we want to have a conversation with them. You still can. I often have a conversation with my beautiful friend Kerry, and witnessing his death was an absolute honour to be there with him all the way through. And I still grab a coffee and go and sit and talk to him all the time. And yes, I'd like him to be sitting next to me, but he's not, but I can still feel him, if that makes sense. So I love that concept. I love the idea. There's a kind of a bit of a cheesy saying. I've done a lot of funeral celebrancy, and there's a bit of a cheesy, but kind of good, oh, listen to that. Can you hear that? That's my cat purring its ass off. Thank you, Lulu. Lulu's the settings of sound effects. So I quite like the idea of like the person's gone on to, everything is beautiful, they've got no pain, they're living the dream, they are light and airy, and they can see everyone and they can sense everyone. But us left, us mere mortals left here on fucking planet Earth, we have to go through the withdrawals of that. And the saying that is often said at funerals is that I am in the next room. I'm still speak to me often as I'm only in the next room, and you cannot see me, but you can feel me. And some people can't get their heads around that. They go, no, gone. And they're really angry and pissed off. And it's fair enough when someone gets taken away from you and you're like, this is not fucking fair. This is not fair. And it's like, no, but who told you life was going to be fair? Who fucking told you that? Because they lied. Because life isn't fair. And shit happens all the time. And it's not what happens, but how we deal with it that I think matters. And it's okay to be sad, and it's okay to be devastated, and it's fucking unreasonable. And, when kids are left without parents and grandchildren left without grandparents, and it's just mean. It is really mean. But it's part of the cycle, right? It's part of the cycle. And it's part of the cycle of life, really, ultimately, I guess. And I think, getting your head around that is incredibly, incredibly useful. I like that. I love the idea that grief is love with nowhere to go. So when you are deep in grief, you have all this love for this person that you used to be able to touch and feel and talk to and physically be with, and now they've gone, and you've got this outpouring of love and nowhere to put it. So I think that's pretty beautiful. And, there's that other one, that grief's the price you pay for love. And so what happens when we love hard, we grieve hard, and it's a big deal. But if you can get your head around why that person was in your life, what did you learn from that person? What did that person teach you? How can you live better for having had that person in your life? Having had the experience of that person, how can you forever be changed now because you had that person? And I think that's the point. When you meet someone and they impact your life, it's really shit when you lose them, but you still got the impact. And I think that's extraordinary. And it's like, what's the impact you want to have, and what is the impact other people have on your life? And I think the secret to dying well is just to live, because so many people are scared of living because they can't get their head around dying. So there you go. That's my big fat observation for the week. So go and live. Have a lovely weekend. See you soon.